Hello there friends, Steve here. When I watch my own videos back, sometimes I think, I can see I'm circling some kind of axis, some kind of point. I mean, I know what that point is. The point is you, the point is me. It's about divinity and defining divine law, and what's the difference between real law and paper laws, written laws. But sometimes, it becomes a bit of a dizzy spin just to go round and round the same topic, And I often think to myself, the things that I talk about, it's like talking about language. If you was learning a language, you wouldn't ask what you're trying to say, because the sentence is only there just to describe what the words are used for. But then it's like when you're in that foreign language, you want to use that language. The language becomes applicable. It becomes a power. It becomes a tool. It means that you can interact on a more intellectual level, on a more spirited level with other people. So if you think about it, it's the same with mathematics. When you learn a little bit about mathematics, which is the language of numbers, you learn about numbers and different systems. And there's a lot to learn, so everybody knows that they don't know everything. Same as language, not everybody knows all words in all languages. So, there has to be that acceptance of, we all start at the bottom with everything, But we should have pride in ourselves and others I suppose pride is a silly word, but, Same as envy and jealousy. I've not managed to actually remove jealousy from my life. So I kind of think to myself, if I feel jealousy for someone, for something, then that's actually probably just me feeling happy for somebody else and feeling, I'd like that kind of happiness. So it's that mutual thing. So what am I talking about? Language and applicability. So because it's about language and law, you see, law is something that you apply, or that's applied to you. I've always found I've argued my way fine through life. I've always won arguments, and I've always stayed within reason, and I'm a big thinker. So I don't expect other people who are busy with other things to think as much as I do. So I appreciate that people will fall short on answers. And I love the fact that wisdom and intellect, and the fact that when you explain something to somebody, it becomes totally clear to them, as if they kick themselves for not seeing it. And that's the way it is with most things. When you take the time to contemplate, it becomes obvious. And so what I sort of set out to do is take the time to contemplate, to make it obvious for others, so they don't need to contemplate. Because I don't get there without contemplation, nobody else does. And it's the same. There's a lot of people doing a lot of work, a lot of groundwork for me and for others. So it's kind of defining the realms. Where is my field of work? What am I doing? What am I contributing? And what are others contributing to my work to make it a collective work? Because there are people working together with me in the sense that I engage with people in order to find answers. So the answers I find from those people, I could give credit for in everything I say. But obviously, it just takes too much time. Nobody owns any answers. But sometimes you just want to say, listen to me because I have something to say, And that's why I appreciate it when people do that. It's just say, listen to me a sec. I've had an idea, and just to draw attention to the fact that you're going to be saying something that's your unique idea. Don't get me wrong, I mean, everything we say is important, but, a lot of the things we're kind of passing along and things, but sometimes we have like an idea that we've had in our head. And some people say those ideas, they say, listen everybody, I had an idea today. And maybe everybody laughs and holds it as a stupid idea, and one person says, mate, that's not such a stupid idea. I'm glad you said that, I'm glad you threw that in the room. But other people, they get great ideas and feel like embarrassed to maybe voice the ideas because it's kind of got some kind of innocent, obvious mistake with it, But sometimes, to actually look at the absurd, to look at the naive, to look at the stupid for a second and find out, well, why is that any less stupid or more stupid than the abstract, absurd what the news is telling us or what the world is telling us? As we see, everything seems to be reversed these days. Schools make kids stupid, hospitals seem to make people ill, governments make people, poor, unproductive. The list goes on. So it's up to us to apply language, law, and whatever art and everything we've got to bring that back into balance. For myself, I've always been an artist, musician, and I've always been interested in labels. So what I can imagine offering to people is the networking and some kind of platform. I'd like to make a television station and radio station, based around good people who can work that, who can contribute to that, people with good voices, good way of networking, people who are good at networking and talking in public and these kind of qualities, to get us together and make the best of what well, when I say us, I don't say I'm the best, but I try and find the best in others and find a good kind of middle ground. Like I say, I've always been interested in creating some kind of label or something, some network, getting genuine people, genuine artists, genuine bands and people connected all around the world, and event organisers and people, venues and stuff, so people could come on tour to different countries, and it'd be much easier and set up networking than it was years ago, where there was no real network, but then I started to think about my own requirements, what would my label philosophy be, well, what is my label philosophy, we have a label, and it should be up and running soon, but the philosophy, this is the point where a label is a label, really, and a label is just a sticker, but what does that label represent? And for me, the most important thing, I think, is that there's real, genuine people making music. And don't get me wrong, I mean, entertainment business is entertainment, it is show. The world is a stage and we're all players, performers and portrayers. But somewhere along the line, I personally think it's necessary to bring real life into the music, onto the stage, to bring our problems, to bring our sorrows, to bring our truths, to bring our hopes and dreams onto the stage, and not just sing about some kind of love cult, Although, I mean, that's a part of the label philosophy. We are a love cult, but I want to see real people standing behind the music and not hiding behind the music. This is one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of musicians and artists, is they're very introvert and they can live out the art and the music, but then when it comes to living out life, it sort of falls short, and I think sometimes, I've benefited more as a musician from just speaking my mind onto videos. I've had more people watching my music through that, and seeing that there's somebody behind the music. Because personally, I used to like music a lot more in my youth, and now songs from back then mean a lot more to me. But nowadays, I don't listen to a lot of mainstream music. Not because it's not good quality or it hasn't got a good message, but maybe I've moved towards these kind of social networks, YouTube, and so that the people who are making music here is, to me, has far more substance and quality and essence to it, for me personally. I was thinking, maybe putting it together a little collection, or putting a playlist together of all my YouTube favourites and things, them songs are going to stay with me for the rest of my life, And so those people behind those songs are really important as well, because I can reach out to you, I can say you, and, I've heard your song and it's has more importance than a mainstream song. You know, the other thing with musicians and artists and stuff, you know, a lot of the people who are not really speaking out about the truth or thinking that there's anything they can do, you know, people who are kind of just trying to pursue a career and trying to ignore the negative, they kind of like, I think because there's not a lot of purpose to that other than trying to get a lot of fans and earn a lot of money and become, like, you know, prestigious. I think because there's little purpose and little inspiration, then it's kind of a process of just trying to make it up as you go along, you know. You'll write a song and think, well, what will the audience want to hear next? You know, what shall I write about today? And what will be popular? You know, and then you'll put the things together in a very mechanical pop formula way, you know. And people will like it and you'll feel good because you've served people. And it is good. It is good. It is art and everything. But you know that it lacks that, like, purpose of, you know, today I've woken up and realised this world needs to change, and it won't happen overnight, but I have the patience and I can put it into a song and maybe millions of people will hear that song. So the purpose is already starting to like be like fertilised earth, you know, it's like fertile earth for the seed that you're going to plant in it, rather than just sort of thinking, what pop formula can I earn my daily bread with? You know, I don't think business and art really mix that well. You know, and I don't think that money is business, really. Money should just be able to flow. I think fans have got money in the pocket, you know, and they appreciate, you know, I'm a fan of bands, I pay for records and stuff. Fans may be a derogatory term to some, but whatever, you know, followers, contributors, followers are stupid, fans, you know. So fans, we like, you know, we can pay directly on through internet directly to the artist, and also with a letter, you know, a message saying what kind of things we want, or there's a direct connection there, you know. And I think there's obviously, you know, an obvious appreciation that money is a value of exchange. So, you know, there's no kind of necessary philosophy there. The philosophy is in the fact that the audience realise, you know, that if they take it into their hands to pay directly to the artist, then we can, you know, cut out all the unnecessary advertising and everything, and we can be more of a family like that. You know, the band can work much more directly with the audience, you know, rather than always being kind of like in a petri dish, protected by the record label, in a bubble, you know, not allowed to do interviews, not allowed to say anything. Yeah, you know. And that's happened to most people in the music industry. They've signed away their, like, name and their rights and their, you know, to royalty institutions, to labels, to bands. And that fear, you know, that level of fear that you carry around, it will cause you to justify not talking about the problems of the world, you know. End up saying things like, you know, if my little voice would make a difference, I would say something, but, you know, I'm just a guitarist, you know. But I think to myself, if you've got a camera like this and you put some conviction and you put it onto the internet and enough people see it, then it's done, it's over, it's finished, it's on its way, it's made, you know. It's not like how big or small I am. You know, have you seen the government? You know, when we say, oh, the government, whoa, the big monster government, have you actually seen them? You know, most of them are smaller than me, for starters. A lot of them are, like, you know, ugly. You know, I don't mean it nastily. You know, we're all a lot of us are ugly, but, you know, the government are ugly too. And dumb, you know, dumb people. You know, they're clever with the numbers, maybe, and, you know, one of them maybe can add pi to the 10,000th, like, you know, another one can do Tetris, and another one can do Rubik's Cube. I don't know, but, you know, they're all good at their own little thing. But, you know, the government, civil servants, bureaucrats, they're generally kind of people who lack a little bit of social skills, you know, and lack a little bit of charisma and stuff, like the rest of us, you know, and they find a job in power. You know, other people who are cute and therefore get what they want all the time, and then forget to read books and learn about law and all these boring subjects. You know, they're the cute ones. And now you've got the less cute, ugly civil servants, and now got the power over the paper. You know, so you can see where it goes. It's like a lot of jealousy and envy, and So again, when we're talking about rock music and music and the entertainment industry, and it's a sexy business. It's a sexy business, whereas politics isn't. It gives rise to massive jealousy. You know, music versus politics. I think a long time ago, a lot of musicians sold out. Because like I said before, business and music don't mix. So it just needs a businessman, an ugly businessman, to come along and say, "I'll give you $10,000 to write a song," and that musician's then he's over the moon because all of his domestic problems have gone. But now suddenly, with all of that, with all that with all of that wealth and freedom, there's no inspiration left. And now there's an ought. I ought to write a song. There's a duty. And the one thing that kills an artist is a duty to do the art. It has to be done out of free will. It has to be done from your self-inspiration, really. Yeah, so a lot of people sell out without realising it, and in a world where we're born into a world where money is the driving force, then no wonder, is there? We've all done it. We all do it. I'm in the process. I can feel myself selling out every millisecond and trying to come back into. It's not just life isn't just a sort of like a status, is it? It's like you can lose faith and gain faith within a millisecond in your head. It's like standing up. If I just suddenly lose my balance for 1 second or lose my life, fall to sleep, I would just go down to the floor. I'd just collapse, just baff. So every single moment I'm balancing. We're balancing, we're always balancing. So there's no status to be attained. It's more just practicing, being able to play a musical instrument, being able to walk. It has to be second nature. Thinking in numbers as well, trying to calculate things, trying to work out the futures. Like, okay, if we do this concert and sell this many records, and if we get this audience, we're going to need a good song to sell that amount of records to that type of audience, and we're going to need this type of song for this type of audience to get the amount of numbers. It all starts to become a calculation game, and again, that ruins art. So, these points are really part of the label philosophy, that the main point of the label is life. Life is there for us to play with. We play in life. We shouldn't learn to play, we should play to learn. We should enjoy life and learn while we're enjoying life, and not learn everything before we start to enjoy it. It's always this backward society that we have to get. We have to start getting used to the fact that the laws of society are a game, And the obvious laws, like don't kill, don't steal, all these types of laws that are obvious, are obvious. But the ones, where you think it's just stupid, these are the ones we need to change, or we need to just ignore and just do it anyway. If it's like art and stuff, I think a lot of people are almost policing themselves more than being policed by the system. Or you can't do that because of that, or you can't play in the street on a Tuesday, or, well, how about just doing it in all innocence, without knowing, just going out and making some music, spreading some love. Can we really get arrested for spreading love? I know you can. But then we're going to have to find out how we're going to get out of that situation. We're going to have to learn from our mistakes, but our mistakes can be out of love and in art, Because the chance of being able to say something with free speech while you're in melody, as a song, first of all, it's a song, so it's not exactly, nobody can really take offence. And secondly, it's because you're singing it, it's copyrighted. You're the owner. You know what I mean? So we've got a lot of power in law, especially the artists and musicians, writers, reporters. People who are using the mind. People who do a lot of inspiration work, healers. All of these. We're all artists, and there's a law. There's like a space in the law for people like us. And that's really what I want to get to with our label, with the label, is to find out what kind of people are we? freedom fighters, truth seekers. That's the kind of people we are. I'm looking for rights that work for us, ways that we can get power. I came to a point where I got scared and thought to myself, is anybody going to wake up? We've got a bunch of us, a nice little family of people who are awake, searching for freedom, know that it's not right and they're going to change it. A small group of people, but all the time I'm trying to increase the size of that group. It's like we're not getting any more solutions kind of thing. We're not getting strength in numbers because there's still no solution anyway. This is the way I'm feeling, And so I start to look at myself, think to myself, okay, well, what have we got for rights? What have we got for powers? If we do everything right, and we know quite a lot of stuff, we listen to our hearts, and we just know inside. I believe that you all the people who watch my videos know who God is, but don't use that title and don't realise the connection kind of thing, But, when we're talking about, everyone's got their own belief in God, I bet you've all got the same as me, It's like, yeah, you don't really know, but it doesn't really matter, and there's something there, and it's in everybody, and it's in your heart, and it's talking through you. Nobody else can tell you what it's saying, all of these kind of things. So I don't even need to really worry about talking about God, because I don't care. I think you all know, And so if I know you all know, you can take that into consideration and think, well, maybe I'm talking about a different aspect. I'm not trying to lead you to some kind of belief system, but I'm trying to lead you away from a belief in a false belief system, And so all of this is combined into this label philosophy, really, because as long as we do our art and we network properly and we link each other, everybody's their own label. But anybody who doesn't know how to work their own label can come to one of our, labels, or the other labels, get the philosophy, find out what I'd say rules or tips are, For example, if you write a song and you write about a politician, or a celebrity, that's pretty much okay. But if you use a private person's name in your song and address and things like that, so there's certain little rules that can stop you getting into big trouble. And I think that's more my thing, is rather than give people a contract to sign for a label and say, this is what you have to do for our label, I would just say, well, I'll support you. We as a label will support you if you are within our philosophy. If people are there just to try and get popularity at the cost of other people, people are just trying to be someone they're not, to try and be someone else's idol, all of that is, I don't know. I mean, I can tend to spot that, and we can talk about it. If somebody wants to make an idol of themselves, we can put an edge on it and say, look, it'll work like this or it'll work like that, but the way you're trying to do it just doesn't fit with our philosophy. How about, just being a bit real, I think you know what I'm talking about, I'm quite disappointed at a lot of musicians, a lot of celebrity musicians in the world, and a lot of them have just played a game. And I understand it's not easy for one, to know what the world is and how it runs, and two, actually say it in public without, getting scrutiny or ridiculed for it, So it's obvious that bands like Pink Floyd and David Bowie and Beatles and that, they put clues in there. We all sense it, we all hear it, we know from the text there's something, it's trying to say something to us, and we don't know how it's connected. But I was always a little bit disappointed that these people just didn't stand up on camera and just call a spade, just to say something that was just solid for the audience, rather than sort of giving us a little plastic product with music on and then going away and living the rock star lifestyle. I don't know, it gave me the impression that I mean, when I first heard Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, I thought to myself, yeah, I fully relate to all of this text and that. But for some reason, I just wondered, where are they now? And what are they doing? Why, why does this have to be hidden on an album? Why can't it just be said in the open? You know, and I suppose then people like Lenny Bruce, Bill Hicks, Carl Hagen, or whatever they're called. Yeah, I can't remember the names. George Carlin, that's it. Or something, yeah. You know, these people tried, you know, they just say it and that, but a lot of people laugh as if it's a joke, and again, it is a joke, but where does humour come from? Why do we laugh? Is it a safety mechanism to stop us flipping out? So then we should ask ourselves why we laugh at politicians, you know. Are they trying to make us laugh? And so life seems to be a show, doesn't it? You know, well, politicians seem to be puppets reading off scripts. They lie. They put themselves up for the fall. They scapegoat themselves. You know, just like in Hollywood movies, you ask yourself, how would an actor want to be the baddie? You know, how would anybody want to play the evil person? But as in Hollywood, people take the role for money. You know, people like Jack Nicholson play baddies and even get pretty good. You know, put well in the scene, but a lot of baddies stay baddies in different films, and it's the same in society. I think, you know, you can get well paid for being a baddie, and at the end of the day, being a baddie in the public eye, being a goodie, who cares? It's just public opinion, isn't it? It's worth nothing. In fact, it's being hated or loved is far better than just not being known for when it comes to being popular. You know, if no one noticed, you just make yourself hated. And just shout at people in the street and film yourself, and you know, people love that, and people will love to see you fall on your face, you know. But at the same time, there's enough of us who want to see victorious actions, to see might in action, to see love working, to see our faith become solid with example, you know. In this world of show and stage, let us artists, musicians, writers, healers use all of our creativity with a force of love to take over this show. Not to try and make it the truth, because we don't know the truth, but to make it your truth as a creator. You are the creator. You have to create the truth. If that be it, then create a truth that you know is the truth. But creation is obviously not destruction. And there may be times where we need to knock things down, and we need to recognize evil in this world. You know, as long as we have the ability to see good and evil, we need to see both. It's just the way we react or respond. We don't need to be reactionaries. We don't need to do everything because something happens. We can just take a small breath, count to 3, and work out what would Bruce Lee say. You know, what would Lady Diana say? What would Elvis Presley say? What would Frank Zappa say? What would Jimi Hendrix say? You know, what would I say? What would you say? What would the wisest man on earth say? But not what does the rule book say, or what does the general public expect. You know, let's like, you know. Because I think the general public, the general knowledge is becoming so stupid in order for you, yes, you, to realise that what you know is actually must make more sense by now. Your half-baked idea, the bread that you made that didn't rise, is still a better bread than that bread that the system's giving. You know, we make it rise. You know, we rise to the occasion with that bread. I talk literally, I talk in metaphors. There's a reason for that, a lot of you know. You know, I try and draw your attention to certain words, you know, like yeast and east and rise and spirit and, you know, unleavened bread. And sometimes you just need to go with an half-baked idea and hope that it rises to the occasion. You know, these are kind of symbols, but they're also really good metaphors, you know. Because that bread that that you make, it might be a little bit burnt on the edges. It might be a little bit, you know, a bit flat and not so quite risen like in, you know, corporate bread. but it's delicious and it's wholesome, you know, and it's homemade and it's warm and it's preserved, you know, it doesn't need preservatives, it's fresh. It's got fresh ingredients, it's got spirit in it, you know. And it's the same with art, it's the same with art. And people, you know, people don't live from bread alone. We need our daily bread, we need our daily art. We always need something fresh, we need something old, something new, you know. So artists, shine. You know, a lot of you are great, you're like diamonds, you just need a little bit of polishing. You need to just, you know, but the thing is, when you're a diamond like you are, people can't see what you're saying. You have to stand in the light so that people just see it, you know, people just hear it, people just see that perfection, that glory, you know, and the power in it. And it's going to be abstract. It's not going to be like, oh, you know, angels and bells ring. It's going to be abstract. It might be sick. It might be mean. You know, go on stage and be violent so that when you come off stage, you can be ordinary. You know, but let's trick the hell out of this world. Let's entertain the crap out of this world. Let's put some wisdom back into creation. Let's put some wisdom back into our words. I mean, we are. I hear it. I hear all of it. You know, it's there. Okay, I'll leave this video here. End it there. You know, music obviously is something that brings us together. Art as well. You know, writing, all forms of creativity. And to me as a musician, there is no boundaries, you know, to the art and the music. I look at pictures to inspire me to write music. The music needs a picture to describe it in the visual world. There's a lot more we can do with computer graphics and combining our work together. You know, I find that often musicians don't get together enough with writers, with calligraphers, with artists, with graphic designers and modelers and software, you know. We could package the whole things together, so it's not just an album of music with a kind of a half-baked cover, but it's a really good cover, it's a really good album, and there's maybe even some software on an extra disc with some kind of presentation or special toy, you know. It's about coming together with our ideas and seeing if we can marry those ideas together. It's a big marriage, it's a big wedding, folks, you know. You know what I mean? Get your best suit and tie on, or get your best jester costume on. Wear your crown, you know. Okay, I don't know if I'm just talking in riddles, but we are artists, and that's where our power lies. And yeah, there's special laws for people like us. Okay, see you later.